Welcome back, adventurers, once again to Let's Play Chaos Head. In the last episode, as Takumi struggled to comprehend the accusation leveled at him by none other than Yua Kusunogi, that he and Shogun might actually be one and the same, or rather, Shogun was nothing more than a one-man play staged by Takumi Nishijo himself. He inadvertently had a flashback of an event from his past, which involved a field trip from one of his old schools that unfortunately he wasn't allowed to go on. And Takumi was so mad that he literally destroyed the drawing of the school bus itself in the process. And then shortly afterwards, the school bus in question was actually buried under a large pile of rubble that used to be an overpass. And while many of the students were injured, the only casualty was the teacher, Mr. Saito. Now, although Takumi's mother was relieved, Takumi himself was a little bit more, melancholic about it. First and foremost, because Takumi's parents absolutely forbade him from going on the field trip in the first place. And secondly, Takumi believes that he himself might actually be responsible for, well, or due to the fact that he might have actually known that it would happen beforehand, which may or may not lead credence to Yua's wild precognitive powers accusation. But reverie aside, everything that Takumi Nishijo believed that he knew about Yua Kusunoki was in fact a lie. The world is full of fiction. That's a very profound, though not inaccurate, philosophical statement there. Furthermore, it seemed like everyone's ill will was directed at me.
いつもあなたが使っているチャットルームへログインして自分で調べてみてください。私の言っていることが間違っていないってわかるはずです。それと、私が言ったことは全部本心です。これだけは信じて。
Everything that you said before or everything that you said after? You're going to have to be a bit more specific than that. After laying out her incomprehensible opinion, you tacked on that last part and vanished from before me. Like hell I could believe her. You've got some nerve to say believe me after deceiving me. No matter what, I didn't want to acknowledge my everything, which you had thrusted at me. I wanted to think that her calling me Shogun had merely been idle words or rambling. But when I looked into the chat's backlog, I saw that she wasn't wrong about the timestamps not matching. Oh dear.
僕は無遊病なの。
Well, that would be a very interesting way of sleepwalking, if you could somehow sleepwalk in the past, go forward into the future, and then sleepwalk back into the past somehow to receive the messages that you yourself posted the following day. That would be quite the journey. I hadn't been sleeping when Shogun posted parts of the chat. It was an incontrovertible fact that I had gone to At Cafe at the time, but I hadn't fallen asleep, so I couldn't be a sleepwalker. Then what did it mean that I didn't have any memory of posting as Shogun? Alternatively, someone other than myself could control my body, That would be a terrifying possibility. Ridiculous. To prevent myself from getting even more stressed, I escaped from reality to another fictional world, Ensu. Even everything about Ensu was a lie, because when you got down to it, it was a world within a game, a dream within another dream. But in Balazad, I could become Neidhart, an existence practically on the same level as God. I could accept this kind of lie, this kind of fabrication. I wanted to stay here, I thought. What's wrong with that? Apart from the fact that if you did, you might end up the same way as the people on that one South Park episode of Make Love Not Warcraft, which was a hilarious way to end that episode, by the way, if I do say so myself. Or maybe Ensu itself was the real thing, and this world was fake. Perhaps a game, for instance. Yet again, going into existential or theorizing territory there. I just hope that we don't run into any alpaca men along the way. Perhaps maybe Takumi Nishijo was the fictional existence, and Neidhart was my true self. Starting to get into Shin Megami Tensei Persona territory here at this point. Although we can't really summon personas or
ねえ、ナイトハルト。
any sort of such entities in reality. I called to the paladin in the center of my monitor. Am I controlling you, or are you controlling me? Which is it? Are you real, and am I the avatar? Unfortunately for you, Takumi Nishijo, this is not Lord British's Ultima series. It would be cool if you were the avatar, but it's... yeah, I'm just letting myself get carried away by that reference. What if the world I was in right now was a game? That would explain everything. If, in the same way that I was watching the Neidhart inside my monitor, if I too were being watched by someone, and we're breaking the fourth wall here in terms of Let's Plays. That person would have to be the player controlling me. I'm probably going to have to flee the country at this point. No, no. If so, I'd like him to play my role better, but an avatar can't voice complaints. For the record, Takumi Nichijo, if that were the case, I did not, quote-unquote, write nor create your personality. I'm pretty much in the same boat as you are on that front. It would make sense if Shogun and I were the same person. Come to think of it, Lizalette was in a similar situation. It was impossible for Neidhart and Lizalette to ever exist in Balazad at the same time, because they had only one player, me. But what happens when you introduce two players? The mind boggles. Maybe in a similar situation, Takumi Nishijo and Shogun couldn't exist in this world at the same time. Then how else do you explain the messages, despite being sent on different days, appearing at the same time? One could also contemplate the possibility that it was a bug. Speaking of bugs, my running into weird girls and murder cases might have been due to a bug as well. The image Shogun sent to me flickered across my mind, and I held my head. I shook despairingly from side to side. I wanted to run away from everything. If there really is a player out there controlling me, I'm begging you, please reset me. and rebuild me once more from scratch. Yeah, things have taken another turn. The universe. I don't know what happened there. That skipped ahead too fast for me to actually read it. But it seems like we're back at the hospital facility that we glimpsed in Takumi's flashback. It was enough to make me think that time had stopped. Worse, the air was stagnant, as befitted the stench of disinfectants, and everyone had dark looks on their faces. Try to spend 5 minutes in a place like this and you get depressed enough you want to die. I don't like hospitals, and if I'm being brutally honest, I'm my feelings are entirely mutual on that front. I've actually been to a hospital basement, and yeah, if there's one thing about hospitals, it's that horror movies capture them quite well. They're as creepy in real life as they are in horror movies, is what I'm trying to get at. Since I was little, I've been terrified of how there are hardly ever any traces of a human presence in the hallways beyond the lobby, though there tends to be lots of people in the lobby itself. It was almost as if the scent of death lurked in those hallways. I thought this itself was the hospital's true face, and that things far more horrifying and eerie were hidden at the ends of the corridors, or as long as you don't start dreaming up Lovecraftian Cthulhian nightmares from the beyond, we might be fine. Maybe. That was why I really hadn't wanted to come here. But there was something I needed to verify no matter what, and so, unable to avoid visiting, I intently waited for my turn. Even after I entered Ensu, the words you had left me spun around and around in my head, making it impossible for me to concentrate. As a result, I became worried about this and that all, all the way until the morning, and became seriously scared that something about me might be abnormal. I think everything about our situation has been abnormal. By coming to the hospital like this, I hoped the doctor would give me their official guarantee that Takumi Nishijo is perfectly normal. I wanted proof that Yua, not I, was the one with the issues. I granted Yua probably does have her own issues, but they are different and separate from our own. I was used to coming to this hospital's psych ward, although I'd unthinkingly nodded when the young lady at the desk asked me if it were my first time being examined here. Ever since the aforementioned bus accident, my mother had brought me here at regular intervals, so it wasn't just the one session. When I entered middle school, the doctor responsible for me diagnosed me as completely cured, and because I stopped going here, it had been about 4 years since my last visit. My initial doctor was Professor Morocco, said to be highly influential in his field, but only after a few visits he was switched with one of his pupils. Though called a pupil, he wasn't very young. If anything, he looked older than expected, and I'm guessing that this man right here is the pupil and not the professor. And of course, again, Takumi's emotions are somewhat askew at this point, so you know what that means. Branching emotional paths yet again. So just bear with me one moment. So, in usual fashion, we're going to be going down the positive route first. Now, as to why I didn't go down the reality route during our confrontation with Yua, basically what happens is that Takumi sees the Gero Froggies but fails to discern their true significance or any significance whatsoever. But nonetheless, through a sleight of hand of worldline convergence, inadvertently knocks over Yua's bag anyway, causing the notebook to fall out anyway, and the entire sequence would have happened regardless, which is why I didn't show it. But in this situation, it's time for the positive route first. Last night, I suddenly recalled that Dr. Takashina's words. That's the name of the doctor with the stethoscope right here.
ここは病気や怪我だけじゃなくて心にも効く病院なんだよ。
That's certainly an interesting philosophy for a hospital. I hated the hospital, but he was very kind to me, and I had the impression he was a good person. Even then, I'd utterly succeeded in deceiving all the adults around me to the very end. Dr. Takashina was the one who saw through me and declared me fully healed.
あの人に調べてもらえれば。
If nothing else, Takumi really wants somebody that he can trust. He needs somebody that he can trust after what happened with Yua. What would he say if he knew that I turned into a gross otaku? No, it's been too long. He must have forgotten who I was in the first place. After all, it's been 4 years since Takumi's last visit. Well, it's possible. I was soon called to the examination room. So much for my thinking I'd have to wait a really long time. Why'd there been so many people in the lobby? It'd be quite a twist if they were paid there to sit around and make the hospital seem popular. It would be bizarre indeed. But here we are. It was a different room from 4 years earlier. When I entered, a familiar face was there to greet me.
やあ、西条くん。
Dr. Takashina put on an amiable smile, stood up and offered me his hand. Realizing that he wanted a handshake, I hastily returned his grip.
また君に会えて嬉しいよ。いや、嬉しいというのは変かな。君にしてみれば、またここに来るというのは辛いことなわけだからね。
It had been 4 years since we'd seen each other, but Dr. Takashina was incredibly friendly. I'd been kind of nervous, but all at once I found myself able to relax. And there are some physicians and doctors who are capable of recalling who some of their patients are. Some, but not all.
それで、今日はどうしたんだい？
Dr. Takashina urged me to sit, so I settled into a chair. Perhaps because he released me from my anxiety, I spoke about everything that had happened to me, and everything that might still happen to me in one breath. I hope we didn't tell him everything that happened. Being unaccustomed to talking made me get blocked up countless times, but Dr. Takashina kept listening and nodding with a serious look on his face the whole time, without trying to rush me. I talked about all of us, of course, from the demon girl to Yua. It occurred to me that it might be dangerous to tell him, but I had no one else to rely on. Be that as it may, it is still a very fantastical story.
結論から先に言おうか。
After hearing me out, Dr. Takashina briefly fell into thought, then opened his mouth.
君は正常だよ。
I would take that as reassurance, but something about that feels
何の
odd.
問題もない。
本当ですか。
もちろん。
Those were the words I'd hoped for above any others, which probably is the reason for my own disease, or unease in this case. I'd come all the way to this hospital just to hear them. I've been fearful, not knowing what I should do if he told me you're abnormal, but I was so glad that he'd been the one to examine me.
むしろおかしいのはその楠木さんという女性だね。西条くんの話だけで判断するのは難しいが、おそらくその女性は精神的な障害を患っているだろう。今後君に危険を及ぼすような行動に出る可能性がある。すぐに警察に通報しよう。
え
Yeah, this is awfully far too convenient. And I think even Takumi is starting to become aware of that fact. The police. That might indeed be the safest approach. Of course, talking with the police will ultimately get Takumi dragged into the web again. Yule wasn't sane. She was weird in the head. I shuddered at the thought that she might start stalking me again.
もちろん僕も責任を持って君を保護するつもりだ。
Looking at me reassuringly, he patted me on the shoulder as though to encourage me. He even handed me his business card. His cell phone number was printed there.
何か問題が起きたらいつでも連絡をくれて構わないよ。24時間いつでも君のところに飛んでいくからね。
That's a very tall order, especially for a doctor.
いいんですか。
当たり前だよ。僕は君の主治医なんだから。
I was on the verge of tears. I thought from the bottom of my heart that I was truly grateful to have been placed under this man's care. Such good doctors must be quite rare nowadays. Indeed they are.
悪魔女のことについても通報した方が良さそうだね。西条くん、君の見たその女がニュージェネの真犯人で間違いないよ。これはものすごい目撃証言だ。
Dr. Takashina seemed a little thrilled, but it didn't come out in his voice. His manner of speaking was as soothing as ever.
事件は西条くんのおかげで解決だ。君は渋谷のヒーローだよ。僕はこの瞬間に立ち会えて実に光栄に思う。
I was a hero? This was an insult. Someone like me could never be a hero. But once I began imagining it, my face started flaming as Ensu music plays in the background. Shibuya's female middle school students and high school students and college students and office ladies would all see me off with squealing cheers. I become stunningly popular and charismatic. I think your imagination is running away with you there. It'd be cool to become a TV personality, but since I don't like being up in front of a lot of people, I create a startup business instead. And I make a killing as the charismatic company president. I'd be in a harem situation with lots of gorgeous secretaries waiting on me, Of course, I'd have triggered flags for all of them, and they'd be softly in love with me. I'd live in a high-rise apartment in Roppongi and employ a bunch of cute maids, like a maid cafe knit just for my own personal uses. Naturally, they'd provide sweet and luxuries nightly services as well, and so on and so on.
まさに勝ち組。
Unfortunately for you, Takumi Nishijo, reality is just too cruel. When I came back to myself, I was still seated on the sofa in the lobby. It's because what just transpired was yet another delusion. As wonderful as it wasn't real. And of course, going to be leaping back in time again and experiencing a more painful aspect of that delusion. So bear with me a moment. And now the time has come for the negative route of this particular moment of causality, which is going to be quite different from the positive delusion.
あの人に調べてもらえれば。
What would he say if he knew I turned into a gross otaku? No, it'd be too long. He must have forgotten who I was in the first place. I was soon called to the examination room. So much for my thinking I'd have to wait a really long time. Why'd there have been so many people in the lobby? It'd be quite a twist if they were being paid to sit there and make it seem the hospital seem popular. Back in Takashina's office. Yet again.
やあ、西条くん。
Dr. Takashina grinned at me. He hadn't changed a bit from 4 years ago. Relieved to see that, I immediately poured my heart out.
先生、助けて。
どうしたんだい？
変な女が僕にストーカー行為を。このままじゃ学校にも行けないし、家にも一度来られてて場所知られてるから安心できないし。
And Takumi's emotions are starting to give him a nervous breakdown.
落ち着いて。
落ち着いてなんていられないよ。あの女異常だ。僕は正常なんだ。それに岩だけじゃない。悪魔女だって。そうだ、悪魔女が真犯人なんだ。
真犯人？
ニュージェネの犯人だよ。間違いないんだ。僕は事件現場で死体を貼り付けにしてる最中のあの女を見たんだ。
大丈夫だ。何も心配いらないから。
Looks like Takumi's hysteria is threatening to overrun his sense of reason, but Takashina's demeanor still hasn't changed.
とにかく落ち着こう。いいね。
Feeling rebuked, I closed my mouth. I had no idea what was supposed to make things all right. But since a professional doctor and Dr. Takashina to boot was telling me so, it had to be okay. That was what I convinced myself with, and you're going to need that advice. Because I got quite agitated. It hurt to breathe. I got my breathing together. Dr. Takashina watched me steadily all the while. He seemed frightfully grave.
本当に大丈夫なの？
もちろんだよ。
あんな危ない女が僕を狙ってるのに。 なんでそう言い切れるの？
理由を知りたいかい？
I nodded, and the doctor shrugged his shoulders a bit. He kept unconsciously twirling the pen in his hand atop his fingers.
なぜなら君の言っている女の人は
Which woman specifically? Yua Kusunoki? Or the so-called demon girl?
この世には存在しないからだよ。
でも
Now, come to think of it, everything that has happened up until this point actually seems like a more rational conversation.
君は自分の妄想に怯えているだけなんだ。
Although Takashina phrasing that in a very straightforward manner is not going to do anything for Takumi's self-confidence or his self-esteem. His voice was eerily gentle. My body began shaking. It wouldn't stop. And yet, I actually get the feeling that most doctors and physicians would actually say those very words. Why? He was so kind, and yet...
西条くん、君はその女の人には会っていない。わかるね？
わからないよ。
じゃあ、もっと具体的に言おうか。
Yeah, this isn't turning out...
君はその女の人には会えるはずがないんだ。もう7年間も君は
Wait a minute. 7 years?
この病院から一歩も外に出ていないんだからね。
Now that would be a very terrifying revelation, not to mention plot twist. What did he mean? Eh? Doctor, what are you...
君はこの病院の精神科に7年間入院している。そのことはわかるだろう？
Now that would actually be a mindfuck of a reality twist, yet again. I didn't understand. Like, how could I understand? How could he say such ridiculous things with a smile? I glanced down at my clothing. Today I should have been wearing a blood-tuned t-shirt with Sarah on it, and a long-sleeved denim jacket on top. The only pair of jeans style on bottom. But for now, for some reason, I was wearing hospital garments. Well, at least we're not wearing striped prison clothing. A faint yellow-green piece of clothing shaped like a dress. It was plainly made, tied together with front and string. I wasn't wearing pants underneath. When did I change clothes? Magically, that's it.
ここは閉鎖病棟だからお見舞いの人も来ない。
Yes, I imagine Takumi's anxiety will be skyrocketing through this plot.
入院患者さんも男女で別フロアに分けられていて行き来はできない。精神科の看護師は全員男だし、君の病室は完全に個室。窓もない。
It seems less like a conventional hospital room and more like a mental institution.
つまり君は7年間女性と接触したことがないんだ。君の家族も含めてね。思い出したかな？
It's a lie. It had to be a lie. And, spoiler warning, we know that for a fact because there is one piece of logic that would refute all that. I haven't been hospitalized. I live on my own in Shibuya, and I'm a top-class, fairly well-known player in Enzio. And I follow my minimum attendance shift chart going to school 2 to 3 times a week. And earlier, the nurse at the front desk had asked me about it. Is it your first time here? Yes. Then please fill out this piece of paper with the necessary information while you wait.
嘘に決まってる。
本当にそう思うのかい？
Well, to be fair, Takumi, Takashina isn't technically lying in this instance. Dr. Takashina murmured as he wrote something down on his clipboard. I couldn't read what he was writing. It wasn't Japanese. English? No, German?
だとしたら君の精神はまだ異常だっていうことだよ。もうしばらくは入院が必要だね。
He took a single brief glance at me. His eyes were brimming with pity. He'd never looked at me like that, not even once in the past. I weakly felt my knees. Tears flowed out of me. I see. That's right. All of my memories up until now have been mere delusions. I was the one going weird in the head. What a horrible twist. But, well, I didn't care anymore. Even if they turned out to be an illusion, they weren't memories I had any desire to cling to. Anyway, couldn't I just recreate them from the start? This time around, it'd be nice to have a world without any scary incidents. I'd have a sociable personality and excellent grades. I'd be popular with girls. All my friends would be beauties on the level of gravure idols, and all of them would have crushes on me. I imagine myself living under the same roof as them, and thus our fun, bittersweet, and just a little comedic everyday lives would begin. I attempted to force myself to laugh. My face was twitching. I didn't want to die. And that brings us back to the real world yet again. Back in the hospital lobby. With all these people around here. And that's where I'm going to end this episode of Let's Play ChäoS. And when we return, we shall finally meet the real Dr. Takashina in the flesh. And see whether or not he does remember Takumi Nishijo since he last visited 4 years ago. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.